please review this video. Someone uploaded their own video, so it's really, please review my video. I promise you that if you do, you will meet and know the killer of 4 people. And it has to do with 2 cases, each case having 2 victims that were young children, and they have some similarities that make it to where people discuss them almost always at the same time. I'm not reviewing that video. In the pinned comment this individual left under apparently their own video, they link to something and say, go here immediately after watching this video for this. And it seems that that's really the source material or not. I haven't even watched the person's upload yet. So I'm going to do it separately because this one was more digestible. So I went through it really quickly. Gray Hughes investigator, February 14th, 2022, HLN special call-in show at 48-minute and 17-second mark, Ryan from Ohio. What this really was is Ryan or Brian from Ohio, Gray Hughes investigates 49 minutes and 13 seconds, which is a minor detail, but not really minor if you're trying to find it, all the way to 58 minutes and 33 seconds. First-time caller, Ryan or Brian from Ohio, and it was actually 2 days before that, and it's called Delphi Murders HLN Special Discussion Call-In. Getting the exact title of the video may be difficult or impossible because at the time this individual might have seen it with a different title. We can change our titles on our videos. But getting the date and time stamp wrong seems a little bit weird. At that point, at 49 minutes approximately, it's right around the 49-minute mark exactly, discussion of bridge guy being on the bridge, or the recording timestamp being 2:13 p.m. is being discussed. Whether that's correct or not, I don't know. 43 seconds of video being involved. And then discussing that there were more words that were said other than down the hill. It's, hey guys, or guys, down the hill. And according to people who've heard the recording and seen the recording from their own kid's cell phone, no, it's actually just that and some random noises and stuff like that, or they're not discussing it. This is a caller saying these things, so it's just a review of the caller's conversation with Gray Hughes. Anyway, genealogy from DNA and hair root versus if it's missing, you use the phenotype, like whether it's curly or straight hair. And then extracting DNA from blood was discussed. By the way, if you're looking it up, it requires 100 microliters. It's harder to do if mixed with another person's blood. That's actually noted. But you can separate them in some cases under a microscope. It's just, it's hit or miss if you can do it. It's harder to do if mixed with another person's blood. Gray said touch DNA would be even harder. But it's called touch DNA because it only uses a small amount, under 10 cells. And separating tissue skin cells from blood is extremely easy. It can be done very easily. You remove the material, the flex, and then you look inside of it and take off the outer layer of cells to where you get to the 10 or 20 cells you need from the inside, and then you can amplify the DNA from the inside. You're already using amplification methods for the blood DNA. Same thing goes with blood products. Remember, we're talking about whole blood, not blood cells versus white cells. It's the entire material. Most people don't just bleed red cells. Then Ryan, I think, Ryan or Brian, commenting on a D- grade hype special, he is referring to it as, and saying another person in it said, stay focused on the crime scene and the materials as the emphasis. Then speculating that more words were said other than down the hill. Then also assuming that you can tell what weapon is used and discuss the weapon that's used. Talking about not getting enough information. So the person who said, please review my video and you'll find out and come to know who killed not only the people in Delphi, but 2 other girls in another location, and linking to this does not seem to be what the person was talking about. So let me just review. Sorry for wasting almost 5 minutes. The Gray Hughes investigator versus Gray Hughes investigates. First-time caller, Ryan or Brian from Ohio, for a little under 10 minutes of talking time. This is two people discussing things and getting really slightly easy to look up things, maybe wrong, or maybe making assumptions by generalization. This being done by watching apparently some special on the subject of the Delphi murders, or maybe some other show. I'm not going to go through the entire several hours worth of video to figure out context for this one call. And saying it has a D grade. It's a TV show, or more accurately, a pseudo-documentary done by News or Pop News. So I would have to agree. I think I know which one they're referring to, but I don't know, so I can't say. I've seen part of it, enough to say this is garbage. Really, it's not okay for news reporters to stop acting like journalists. And especially if they do a news special or a movie of the week style special on something that happened years ago, it lends itself to being very useless. And interviewing people who say something and get it taken out of context is the norm. So I don't use them. I never take any quote-unquote testimony that's given in a video interview that's going to be edited to death as being valid. But that's an opinion. Can you tell what weapon is used if you don't have the police telling you exactly what the wounds are or whatever? No, you can't. You can have a blow-through hole from a rifle bullet or a pistol bullet, or you can have fragments from a bullet untraceable to figuring out what it came from because part of them are there and part of them are not. And if you find a stab wound, you can't determine exactly what kind of knife it is, except for the silhouette or pattern of the blade in the wound cavity. The most devastating wounds do not leave a clear track. They leave an open wound that drains blood and kills the person. That's something that you see people talking about. Oh, I can tell from this that it was a hunting knife. That's really rare that you can get exactness like that. Hate to quote a good movie example, but shooting a phone booth with a rifle bullet leaves what ballistics? You can also fake ballistics by loading up a gun with a previously fired bullet, but fire it from a larger caliber gun and paper patch it. And it might fool somebody and still be a rifled bullet flying through the air, spin stabilized for long range. You're just firing it from a sabot that's made out of paper or some other disposable material, usually paper. And I've gone ahead and demonstrated that with a bullet that was fired into a berm that was in really good condition. You can also just build a gun that fires rifled bullets that never leaves any marks on the bullet. The bullet comes out pristine. Unlike the one that hit Kennedy, which was not pristine. Yes, I'm poking at people who are easily poked. Got a poke me sign. Genealogy from DNA, hair root, or just the type of hair. People mess with their hair all the time. People who don't mess with their hair tend to be males, unless they're older men like me who dye their hair or just shave it or have a... I don't have a crew cut, I have a clear cut. Can you actually tell from the hair type anything about the person? Only if it matches. You have to have two samples, the person you're testing against. It's a go, no-go test, including on DNA. And that gets us to the next point. Most of what's done of deductive versus inductive reasoning when it comes to a court case is you deliberately try to prove someone's guilty by matching the evidence, and then you try to discard it. If you're doing an honest job investigating a murder or any case, you try to disprove your assumption as well, preferably by having two teams do it. The idea is they pick each other's data apart so that they find if they can't disprove something, then it is probably true. And if they can't prove something, it's probably not true. The idea is you go ahead and you beat up on your own evidence. Many of you have not seen that on TV or with the news talking about it, because that part of what really should be done during an investigation isn't done much anymore. In the case of the two girls who died in Delphi, it is critically important that you try to disprove your own evidence, because it's been so many years that the case is cold. In a cold case, you have to try to destroy your own evidence. You have to ruin your own case. Because if it easily falls apart in your hands, you shouldn't pursue it any further. That's why speculation videos like I'm reviewing here on Gray Hughes Investigates, I call them Gray Hughes Instigates, because that's the what we call the porn title version of it, the evil spoof. I'm not saying he's a bad person or anything. I'm just saying that we deliberately try to do the devil's advocate on this. So, curly versus straight hair comparison is only useful if you have something to compare it to. Obviously, if the police have taken hair samples from everybody, which has been insinuated, Gray Hughes insinuates, but they would have done that. They'd be an idiot not to. They'd be stupid. We're going to take hair samples. Why? Because we can hold you down and take hair samples. Hold still. Blood samples. We're going to get them anyway. We'll just run you over and get them. I mean, I'm sorry. They're just going to get the data by now. Nobody matched. Otherwise, they would have brought it up. The only thing you can find is a positive match or people being excluded. They probably excluded everybody by now. Somebody brought up if blood was mixed in this video segment. Depending on where the blood lands, you can find the combination. What causes a person who's a perpetrator and a victim to mix blood? That's not the assumption you should go under. They're two victims. The blood from either of them getting cross-contaminated would screw up the ability to test even if it came from them. So you have to have your two victims, and then you do a comparison. You can do a differential on things. You can also pick samples from different parts of an area and see if you can find, you test every single blood sample. That's what you do. All of them, every bit of blood. There's a case in, it was depicted on Law and Order, but it's an actual case in New York where there was a blood spatter because there was a fight between two people, John Wick style, where they ended up shooting each other with the same gun. So they both had bullets in them from the same gun and blood spatter going everywhere. They had to trace exactly where the blood spatters happened and whether one droplet landed on top of another to figure out who was shot first. And that's how they did it. But they did it in layers, paper-thin layers of blood on the wall that were liquid that went ahead and slumped. They had to go into all that detail. So the top part of the droplet, if it wasn't interfered with it by the other, that was the sample. So they sampled all around the edges, just a droplet, very, very tiny touching pattern, and found, yes, we can differentiate. This was taken from the top. It must be the first one. Well, yeah, because the other one would have to be on top of it to drip below it. So they were able to figure out who shot who first. They were fighting over a gun. There was another gun in the room that wasn't fired, and neither of them would take credit for it. Both of them were stolen guns. Well, not guns associated with them, probably stolen. But they figured out that, no, you shot him first, and then he shot you with your own gun, and you got blood all over the place. And, I mean, there were blood spray patterns, microdots of blood on the wall. They had to look for deliberately mixed blood examples. And the smaller the droplet, the more likely it is to form a sphere and do that, which is what happened in 2 or 3 dozen cases out of the hundreds. They had to go through all that effort to figure out who to take to court first. It was mutual combatants, and yeah. Of course, I could be blowing smoke up my ass here. You can look up the information at 2 science links. They're sciencey-ish on the subject of separating data. So this may be a useful video to some of you. Others might be saying, why are you doing such a shitty job? I'm reviewing a single caller call-in and what they talked about. Next, am I an expert on any of it? No, I'm not an expert on any of these things. I can look shit up, just like anybody else can. And you're going to find someone somewhere or another source that's going to contradict this. That's normal. Reality is a messy thing, and people don't always agree on what they see, even if they're looking at the same thing and talking about it. All of you have experienced that, and you already know that the other person was wrong, but that's how that works. So, yes, you can separate the blood spatters. Yes, you can get DNA from hair follicles, and you might be able to tell something without the bulb of the hair follicle or the hair sample and just compare and contrast people. No, you can't tell what the murder weapon was from the wound or whatever unless you have something very definite. It's mostly for disallowing a weapon by dimensions usually. And no, there doesn't appear to be any other audio recording data, nor has anybody indicated it, so speculating on it is reckless. See also, if you want to, reddit/r/delphi-docs/wiki/creators for a listing of reliable video sources on YouTube. They're bringing it up, and they made a listing of it. They're judging us. I'm in there too, but it's a really glib statement, so oh well. Thanks for watching. Have a good day. Good luck with that. Do I endorse any of the information from this video? No. Now I'm going to review the other video that someone told me to actually go review.